Not just anyone can go toe-to-toe with the Scarlet Speedster, but who of the Flash's many enemies is the most powerful? Fighting the Flash is more than just a day at the track. Different foes have come up with their own tactics to fight the fastest man alive. In the layers of Speed Force, freeze guns, and crazy intellects, certain enemies have just a little something special. So we will take powers, impact, and general menace all into consideration. And with that, bring on the villains. Sorry. George Digger Harkness, aka Captain Boomerang, is truly hard to take seriously. In this day and age of dark and gritty, a bank robber using boomerangs with that thick Aussie accent isn't exactly something that strikes fear into your heart. But the guy has been around since the Silver Age, so props for him for sticking it out this long. He's got a melody of gadgets to help him keep up with the superpowered heroes and villains around him, so that's a perk. But aside from that, there's nothing supremely powerful or deadly about him. He's getting a good deal more credit thanks to the Suicide Squad films now. Good for him. Another fellow with less of the powers but more of the tech, Clifford DeVoe, is not necessarily quick on his feet, but his mind certainly is running as fast as the Speed Force. This gentleman started as a lawyer, but evolved into a criminal consultant before taking over the underground for himself. The Thinker is unlikely to be on the front lines, mostly having others do his dirty work while he pulls the strings. But we do see a fair share of him, with him in the CW Flash series and the upcoming Suicide Squad follow-up. Though maybe not one of the toughest customers, he's not one to overlook, worthy of his continued adaptations in the live-action department. Not to harp on the name from the first second, but Captain Cold is a downright phenomenal upgrade when your other option is Leonard Snart. Mr. Snart is another tech-savvy villain, managing to complete his crimes with an arsenal of icy weaponry. He gains points for his longevity, being a pretty big staple of the Flash universe. Plus, if we find Mr. Freeze intimidating, what's so wrong with finding Mr. Snart just a little bit of a threat? Nothing, if you ask me. Lisa Snart is the sister of the aforementioned Captain Cold. A villain in her own right, she has been romantically involved with a few of the Flash's enemies over the years. Matching with her brother, the Golden Glider started with the ice-themed tech in the form of ice skates that froze the ground under her, later on replaced with some fancy metahuman powers. This puts her above her brother on the threat scale, as her abilities cover a good amount of scenarios rather than just ice. Becoming a metahuman is a real quick way to get a leg up over the competition, so she sneaks in just a little over the captain in that regard. Sometimes he's a tech wizard. Sometimes he's an actual wizard. No matter the situation, Abra Kadabra has a surprising amount of power for someone who, on the surface level, could be mistaken for a kid's entertainer. But this fellow is not pulling any rabbits out of hats. Like many other Flash adversaries, Citizen Abra often hails from the future. Honestly, it's like they have nothing to do in their time but sliding into the past with some fancy tech. Well, it just seems like magic. So this sorcerer can make quite a splash. When he's not boasting high-tech prowess, the guy has been a genuine sorcerer. And in this world, that's no small feat. I'm just going to say it. Immortality is a pretty scary superpower on its own. But Cicada takes it a step further. He isn't just immortal on his own, he saps the life force from others to keep his longevity. Aside from that, he's a cult leader, with him and his followers believing that he has an innate connection to the Flash due to the lightning strike that granted him his powers. This fun connection resulted in the rival murders of many of the people the Flash had saved over the years. Though not one of the most popular villains, he did get a nice reboot in CW's Flash. His overall concept is pretty neat, and his threat level is fairly high, giving him every right to be up here with some of the worst of Flash's adversaries. It does say what it says on the tin. The Weather Wizard controls the weather through the use of the Weather Wand, a piece of tech created by the villain's brother. As mundane as it sounds, we all know how devastating the weather can be. Hurricanes, ice storms, torrential rainfall, drought, and so much more. It doesn't take too much to throw a city into chaos. Now, contemplate being able to just hurl those effects at an enemy. The Flash may be quick, but if he gets thrown by a windstorm, some impressive sprinting isn't going to help him much. In the other interpretations of the character, the Weather Wand isn't even needed, as the Weather Wizard is a metahuman, allowing for his power set to work without the need for a little bit of tech. A one-man hurricane is no easy task to take down. A few different villains have toted around the title of Mirror Master, but that doesn't decrease the amount of power that they wield. No sir, once you gain access to the mirror world, you can appear nearly anywhere. Anywhere. As long as there's a reflective surface, you can arrive. This power seems bizarre, but considering he's against the fastest man alive, this is a perfect getaway. Hard to catch what you can't find. Tack on being able to create copies of himself, hypnotize people, and being able to turn people into mirrors. You never know where he's going to come from next. Who needs superpowers with tech like this? The man has his own dimension. He doesn't need much else. Back on the Captain Cold train, take those fancy ice power gadgets and just imbue somebody's body with them. Now you've got Killer Frost. And she's not held back by any need for refrigerator suits either. Having pieces of you break off due to frostbite, just being frozen into a chunk of ice entirely, being stabbed by sharpened shards, being one of the coolest villains around, Killer Frost has had her share of interpretations. Showing up in Young Justice, CW's Flash, and Injustice Gods Among Us, she doesn't have to be speedy to be a match for the Scarlet Speedster. Caitlin Snow is enough as she is. Queen Elsa has nothing on this gal. So when you hear he spins around really fast, you wouldn't consider that much of a threat. Me neither. But see, we'd both be wrong. Originally known for his plethora of top-based weaponry, then telekinesis that allowed for his extreme rotational speeds, his real power came after his first death. Taking on an astral form, he was able to possess others, including Henry Allen, father of the Flash. Eventually, the Top's body hopping ended when he was killed by Captain Cold, seemingly for good. But he did have one more outing as Black Lantern, adding on another horrific power to his legacy. Zoom is the third in line of evil Flashes to run through the pages of comics. Though he can still be considered a speedster, oftentimes Zoom's powers differ quite a bit from the Speed Force users he may battle. In his earlier appearances, Zoom has a type of chronokinesis, allowing for the alteration of his own time, but he could not interact with the Speed Force at first. His main enemy is usually Wally West, and Zoom aims to improve the speedster by giving his life tragedy. This incredibly misguided goal is meant to make the young hero stronger, but leads to many horrible acts coming from this evil Flash, including the murder of Wally's kids. Worst of all, he thinks he's doing this for the best of the world. Maybe just leave this one to the professionals, Zoom, please. You might be asking yourself, how did a gorilla get so high on the list? If you have to ask that, you probably don't know much about Gorilla Grodd. He may not have a King Kong-like stature, but he has some serious brain power. He's not one of a kind. Hailing from a place called Gorilla City, where hyper-intelligent gorillas run the show. Where Grodd gets his upper hand is in his advanced telekinetic abilities and mind control, often brought on by his advanced tech. This gorilla has been known to steal other people's bodies entirely for his purposes. The mind control powers he has are scary stuff. Grodd desires a Planet of the Apes-like scenario, and if the Flash wasn't around, he'd probably already have it. August Hart was in the wrong spot when a Speed Force storm struck and granted him powers. An ally at the start, he aided in rounding up new speedsters, helping them harness their powers. He served as Barry's sidekick for a bit, his previous police training doing him well in the crime-fighting department, until he was taken out of action by the mysterious GodSpeed. When this new villain killed the man responsible for Hart's brother's death, Barry managed to put two and two together. With a snazzy costume and some anti-hero views, GodSpeed is quite the villain. His speed-created clones and siphoning powers make him an extra danger to the Flash. He thinks he can do better than Barry, and he is the judge, jury, and executioner. He is GodSpeed, and you better think twice before getting in his way. The Black Flash has had a few different characters over the years. Even Barry Allen himself has become the more deadly incarnation of the Speed Force. But what the heck is Black Flash? Normally, he's not a regular speedster. The Black Flash is a personification of death. Seems speedsters have a knack for outrunning death, so that's where the Black Flash comes in, to catch those tricky heroes and villains when it's time for them to join the Speed Force. Due to this, Black Flash isn't strictly evil, but the power level is immense. Plus, you can't kill death, so there's no point in messing with this Speedy Reaper. So, who is Eobard Thawne? A man of many names. He's most commonly known as the Reverse Flash. This guy is a staple of the Flash mythos, making him mandatory to show up in most speedster-related media. So, what does this guy have that the Flash doesn't? Firstly, he has the negative Speed Force, an opposing version of the Speed Force that includes everything the Flash has already, with the bonus of unaided time travel and the ability to kill speedsters with a touch. Thawne can do a great amount of harm to the universe if he wished, but his hatred for Barry Allen remains his priority. His sadism and desire to destroy Barry's life are everything that keeps him running, and that dedication makes him all the more dangerous. And that's our list. Obviously, we can't fit every villain into one video, so if you'd like a follow-up with some other villains, let us know. Maybe another rogue gallery entirely. I'd be down for that. Till then, may the Speed Force be with you.